it spooky enough for you?
I'm spooked as heck.
Oh, I should have brought that one back for tonight. Greetings.
Yeah.
How we doing, bud?
What? Man, fuck this podcast. Put that beat back on.
Okay. Dude, I listened to the RL Grime Halloween mix at the gym this morning.
How many times?
And things got, well, I mean, it's like an hour and 15 minutes, so just once.
Well, I mean, I figured it might have been so enthralling that it gave you enough energy to work out
for
the
that
gym.
3-hour workout.
You needed 3 cycles of the RL Grime Halloween mix.
Yeah. That's actually all I did today. I just stayed at the gym and burned like 9,000 calories.
RL Grime
I have nothing
inadvertently killed like 500 people just because they got so hype listening to his Halloween mix.
It was like that thing where back in the old days when people danced themselves to death.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was like that.
Except just like banging your head off to incredible remixes of Throw Some D's.
I think the North Chun-Li
Northside
blend.
Long Beach?
Yeah, got me.
Pretty strong.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go Google RL Grime and listen to all his Halloween mixes. They're great.
He's a producer and a DJ who every year he does like a full hour-long DJ mix that is Halloween themed and has had such guest drops as Shaquille O'Neal, R.L. Stein.
He has R.L. Stein every year, I think.
Which his name is a play on.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I needed to double check that. But yeah, they're spooky and they're fun.
Did we do a Halloween themed anything last year? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't, I gotta be honest.
We probably didn't put out an episode on Halloween last year because that's how days and years work.
True. I gotta be honest. There was some conversation in the Facebook group this week, which, by the way, go join the Facebook group. Shitload of y'all coming in. Come hang out. There was some conversation about whether or not we had covered something that someone uncovered. And people were like, oh, yeah, it was like episode 71. And I was like, whoa.
Talking about the Georgia Guidestones?
It was the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah.
And I vaguely remember having a conversation about that, but couldn't have for a second told you when that happened, how many episodes or years or lifetimes ago it was.
I remember that one, but only because I prepped that one.
Paid episode, free episode. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of paid episodes.
Yes.
Shout out to y'all. We crossed the 200.
Oh, yeah, that was fun.
What's up? For those of you who don't know, who are new to the show, we do 2 episodes a week. You are hearing one of 2 episodes. If you go to patreon.com/whatifpodcast, you can give us $5 a month and we give you 4 additional episodes of the show.
Oh, dang.
Every single month. So thank you to everybody who helped us cross the 200 barometer.
Are we playing voicemails today? We have a bunch that I haven't looked at.
We do have a bunch.
Should we play a couple?
Let's pick a couple. Hey, happy Halloween, guys. Wait, I have 2 quick questions before we get to voicemails.
Oh, okay.
Spencer?
Go ahead. Yes, Ryan.
What are you dressing up as tomorrow?
Myself?
Spencer, yeah.
I haven't worn a Halloween costume in like 20 years.
I had a feeling Spencer was going to be the answer to that question.
Yeah.
Spencer's dressing up as Spencer tomorrow. Okay.
Sorry.
Question number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Are you potentially giving away rolls of toilet paper to kids for Halloween? Because I just went into your bathroom and there has to be at least 100 rolls of toilet paper in your bathroom.
There's like 4. Hey, man, you never know what could happen in there. I'd rather be prepared.
That's true. I also I saw it and I liked the concept for a second. I was like, damn, there's like 48 rolls of toilet paper here.
It's seriously like 4.
Rolls of toilet paper?
Yeah.
Have you gone in your bathroom lately?
There's also a thing of paper towels that you may have confused.
There are. Is it two multi packages of paper towels?
All I'm saying is that you're exaggerating by at least like 500%. But carry on.
I mean, guys, it's not like we've ever exaggerated anything on this show before. The point I was about to make was, damn, it would be super funny if your whole thing is, how like the house on your block was growing up, the king size candy bar house was like, damn, that's super cool. Or like the soda can house, you're like, damn, they give away cans of Sprite.
That always seemed risky to me.
Which part?
The can of pop.
Risky, like a kid's gonna throw it?
Yeah.
Well, so my next take was gonna be, could you be the roll of toilet paper house? It's like, go toilet paper some shit, buds, and just give every kid a roll of toilet paper in their bag.
Horrible idea.
Or you're contributing to the madness that is Halloween in a way that's like super irresponsible and kind of the same way that giving kids like a giant sized candy bar and a can of Coke is. It's not the same
thing at all.
Well, you know, one of them's going to give them too much energy. One of them's going to give them too many tools to vandalize with.
You're not going to have to clean the candy that you give a kid out of your trees.
Oh, I don't know. I think they'd be barfing all over the place. Barfing in trees, barfing in sidewalks. You'd be power washing candy off of every surface the next day.
Guys, if you can't tell from Ryan's ideas about Halloween, this is his first Halloween as a homeowner.
I'm fucking me. I'm grown now.
Kids just climb your trees and barf on stuff, right? You're going to have like 6 kids come by your house, and they're going to be done by 7:30 because no one trick-or-treats in our neighborhood.
And I'm going to give them a can of Campbell's soup and a roll of toilet paper.
Eat that. Shit it out.
And I'm going to kick them in the butt on the way out and say, get out of here, go get some more candy, you dummy.
All right, let's just...
I wish it was Halloween tonight.
We have 3 actually.
Uh-oh.
Maybe 4.
From the same person?
We have several voicemails from Cam.
Oh, Cam's coming in hot this week, huh?
One of them starts with, well, goddamn, Spencer, and then proceeds to tell me how stupid I am. So we should for sure listen to that one.
Sick. That sounds fun. I miss Bear. Bear, where you at? Give us a call.
Well, we could always call him too.
That's true.
Let's see what Cam has to say.
All right.
Hey, y'all, it's Cam. I was just listening to the Patreon, and I had to pause it. I ain't got but a few minutes into it. Ryan was talking about the goddamn seasons, all right?
My man.
He's speaking the goddamn truth, Vince. I had to pause it right when you said that he lived in L.A. for a year and a half. I'm out here in San Francisco, right?
So we did talk about, on the Patreon episode, we talked about me living in LA and moving back home, and part of me loving that was talk about fall and seasons and Halloween. Apparently Cam, who I believe moved from Texas to the West Coast, is echoing my sentiments.
And I pointed out that Ryan lived in LA for a year and a half and experienced the equivalent of 5, maybe 6 seasons at best.
No, I think 4. I think 4 is the exact number.
Huh? Well,
I'm saying,
yeah,
you only get 2 of them.
Sure. So, but like what would have been a cycle and a half through the seasons.
Sure.
Yeah.
Damn, I tell you what, he's right, man. I've been out here goddamn 6 years, and he's speaking to my heart about these seasons and shit.
Speaking to your heart.
I don't know.
Should have fucked you up, Cam.
It's different when you ain't seen the leaves change, and you got all this just regular weather pretty much year round. There's only about 2 months out of the year in San Francisco. They're a lot different than the others. And that's September, October, where it gets a little bit warmer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Cam spent another 2+ minutes agreeing with you and telling me that I'm stupid. So we're going to skip to the other topic.
I'm sorry, Spencer. I'm a very big fan of anyone who wants to call the show and call you stupid and agree with me. So I feel like...
I'm just saying there's so much of him calling me stupid and agreeing with you today that we got to consolidate a little bit.
We can move on.
So we can still talk about old British ghosts.
Mm-hmm. Slough ghosts.
Well, goddamn, Spencer, you just got on my shit list today, boy.
Mostly I wanted to get to that.
Oh, shit. Was this literally the same day?
This was 20 minutes later.
Oh, shit. That's fucking awesome.
So we'll start that again from the top so you can hear that again.
Can we please make this a drop real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Well, goddamn, Spencer, you just got on my shit list today, boy.
Oh, man. Can I... Sorry, real quick.
I just need to clarify a couple things. You're talking about marijuana, right? You're talking about the cannabis, the doobies, the fucking ganja, the doja. Well, you're talking about how, California, Canada ran out of weed and all that, and they didn't give them enough time, and then, California passed a law so people could prep and get ready for the quantity to have, inventory. Well, Spencer, I'm sure you know this. You probably just forgot about it. Well, California has had medical marijuana since 1992.
Good
or
point.
96. I think it's one of them. It's called Prop 92, so I might get mixed up there. But there's been infrastructure in place, in California for decades, but legal infrastructure on a medical scale.
Okay, so Cam spends another 3 minutes telling us about how to legally sell weed, which is great. But I really just need to play the first 5 seconds of that because...
Well, goddamn, Spencer, you're on my shit list today. What I really need in my life, so y'all, the sounders that you hear on the show every week come from a board that Spencer has in front of him that is a 16-pad board and then has multiple sets for each of those 16 pads. So you have at your disposal, like somewhere in the realm
128.
You have 128 sounders at your disposal.
I could. I don't have that many loaded up most of the time.
We're talking like 50, maybe.
Yeah.
I just need one button. And it's just those 5 seconds from Cam. That's all I need. I need a single red button I can push that just says, well, goddamn, Spencer. You made my shit list today. That's the shit.
He hit me with the boy at the end, too.
Did
Yeah.
Sunned your ass hard. Oh, that's some funny shit right there. I tell you what.
All right. You want to talk about some old ghosts?
I mean, it's All Hallows Eve. Or the
Eve?
How does that work with like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day? Like Halloween's
so Eve
tomorrow.
Is the day before.
Is this All Hallows Eve and tomorrow is Halloween?
Yeah,
What? Fuck it, y'all don't know. Y'all gonna listen to this in the next like 3 days anyway. So
shit
we're just
went
gonna
bad
say
real quick. You know what I mean?
we're gonna say fuck yeah, it's Halloween, and we are doing this podcast by the light of one orange salt lamp and one candle.
In honor of the NBA season returning, I think I'm gonna start pulling some NBA sounders into our repertoire.
I'm into it. Do you have one on deck right now?
Well, I played one a second ago when 5 seconds in we didn't know what Halloween was.
Shit went bad real quick. You know what I mean?
Who is that?
It's Chris Paul talking about the fight the other night.
It did go bad real quick.
Yeah, you got punched in the face, bud.
That would be the definition, my guy. Shit's about to go bad real quick.
So Ryan wanted to tell all y'all about the history of Halloween, and I said, that sounds cool, but can't we just tell ghost stories?
And I said, okay.
So we stuck sort of to the history, which is it has roots in ancient Celtic and European history about spooky ghost stories. So we figured we'd just tell some spooky ghost stories from the UK.
Because it's a spooky night.
Do you want to start? You want me to start?
I think you should kick us off.
Okay.
I got a good one. I got a good spooky one to close on.
So I started thinking about ghosts, right?
I'm scared already.
Ryan turned all the lights off before we started recording.
You guys, I'm holding both arms of my chair real tight.
And then freaked himself out, apparently.
Guys, if you don't hear me for a while, it's because I crawled under my own chair.
So I started thinking about ghosts and how come whenever you see ghosts, they're like old, but not really old, right? Like humans have been around for 200,000 years. How come we only see ghosts from like the 1800s? Do ghosts die after like a couple hundred years?
Oh, that's interesting.
Do they pass on to like another realm of ghosthood where we just can't see them anymore?
I see. So the suggestion you're making is
where are the caveman ghosts?
There should be caveman ghosts. Right. Damn, caveman ghosts. Add it to the list.
Oh, that's a really nice one. That's some of our finer work. TM.
We're putting that on a record.
You never see ghosts, or you rarely see ghosts from 2009.
Yeah, right.
And you don't see ghosts from 9. You get a lot of ghosts from 1890 and that, 100 to 200 year old range.
The 1800s to early mid 1900s. Yeah.
So I tried to find this, not the oldest ghost story, but the story involving the oldest ghosts I could find. Does that make sense?
It totally does. But I just had, like, as you were saying it, I had this concept in my head of, like, just a very old dude, like the most old dude ghost, not the ghost from the oldest.
So a guy who died when he was like 115 and then started haunting people?
Exactly. Like, just
can't really understand what he's saying.
Just like in a ghost wheelchair and like eating ghost applesauce with like no ghost teeth, you know?
Ghost sauce. Also put it on the list.
Ghost Oh, that's really good too.
Thanks. So I found or was reminded of a classic ghost story.
Okay.
About the York Treasurer's house and Harry Martindale.
I have no idea what you're talking
dude, this
about.
is a great one.
Tight.
So this happened in 1953.
Okay.
But it happened in a house that was built in 1562.
That house should still be standing.
And there's at least one wall of this house that was built in 1091.
I think I said this when I came back from my Europe trip last year, but I just don't think that physics should work like that. Like
that stuff can stand upright for 1,000 years.
Yeah, like walking by a church and it's like, this church was built in 1342, and I'm like, no, the fuck it wasn't. Like, I don't.
Fuck no.
The concept does not compute. I live in America where like the oldest building is 200 years old, and that seems old as fuck to me.
If you build stuff out of rocks, they last a long time.
I guess, and you do it with heart and soul.
We just build stuff out of wood and shitty stuff over here.
Fast food wrappers.
Why are you being so lazy, my boy? Come on, man.
No wonder it falls over.
So the York Treasurer's house was originally built in 1091.
That's about to be an old ghost.
And the treasurer of the York Minster lived there. So it was this very...
Man, y'all are so cute with your cute ass names.
Way back when the treasurer of the person in charge of the church lived there.
Okay.
The house that is currently there was built in 1562. And this was after the Reformation. And at that point, it was built for the Archbishop of York.
Sounds fancy as fuck.
To live there and entertain traveling guests.
Sure.
So it was a very fancy house. In those, almost 500 years, it's changed hands a few times. But since 1930, it's been owned by the National Trust.
Okay. Like a house of public record.
Yeah, basically.
Got it.
So in 1953, they were doing some renovations on the house, and they were replacing or renovating the heating system. So they were installing new radiators and pipes and a new boiler and stuff.
Got ghosts in those pipes.
Well, so there was a gentleman, Harry Martindale, who was a plumber's apprentice, and his job that day that he was working at the house was to go down to the basement and dig a hole, basically, or cut a hole through one of the walls in the basement to fit a pipe through it.
Sure.
So they were routing a pipe from one of the radiators upstairs down to the basement.
They just did this in my house recently.
Yeah. So the problem back then, though, with houses built in the 1500s is that the walls were 4 feet thick and made of rock.
Cool.
So
so that's how they stayed up so long.
Right. They were just actually part of the earth. Basically.
Sure.
Yeah. And so this cutting a hole in the wall took him a day and a half.
I was going to guesstimate a way longer time than that.
So on the second day, he's down there and he's been working for a couple hours, and he's up on a ladder because he's not cutting this hole at ground level. He's cutting it up near the ceiling.
Yep.
And basically his day was just with a longer and longer extension, chiseling away at this wall.
It's got a fucking hockey stick chisel at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Come on, break through, motherfucker.
And after a few hours on the second day, he starts hearing this music that at first he thinks must be coming from upstairs because there are other people working on other parts of this renovation in the house. And it starts getting louder, and as it gets louder, he realizes that it's not music, it's like one note being played at like sort of regular intervals, like a trumpet-ish, horn-ish sound.
Do you think there's any possibility that he was striking metal on metal in like an enclosed rock space for a really long time, and by the end of the day he was just hearing clang, clang?
Oh, like it was some sort of echo?
Yeah, no, not an echo, just like he had fucked up his ears.
Oh, he just internalized it?
Just
yeah,
banging metal on metal on him.
I mean, I guess maybe.
No, I'm just fucking around.
It probably sounded more like...
Sick,
yeah.
Sick.
The ghosts were just cheering him on. Like,
1953.
Harry, keep up the good work, but I know you're down here by yourself. We got you.
It's lit! Carve that hole, Harry!
So this like trumpet blast.
We're doing shots! Sorry.
This trumpet blast starts getting louder and louder, and he starts being able to tell where it's coming from, and it's not coming from upstairs. It's coming from inside of the wall that he's working on.
Whoa.
Or on the other side of the wall that he's working on.
So
he's hearing it through the wall that his ladder is leaned up against.
So he was hacking into a music school.
Maybe. Where they're just practicing one note at a time for hours on end.
That kid was bad at the trumpet, man.
Just play a B flat, bud.
Look, start here. Just until you get one right. It's still flat, you dummy. You'll sit in this room.
Gotta hold a constant pitch. It keeps dying.
In the basement.
And this trumpet sound is coming from inside the wall, and he looks down, because he's up on a ladder, like looking up above him, chiseling away.
Sure.
He looks down towards the floor to try and figure out like what is going on and what could be making this sound. And as he looks down, he sees a helmet come like out of the floor / wall, like a Roman soldier's helmet.
Sick.
And it starts coming out of the wall that he's leaned up against, but he watches it for a while, and he sees this helmet turn into like a full Roman soldier walking out of the wall that he's working on.
Goo.
But what's weirder about this is that it's not like not quite a full person. This person is like cut off at the knees.
Ooh.
But appears to be walking like out of the wall that he's working on, just to the other side of the room.
Got hit by one of those gladiator chariots, man. Remember that scene?
No.
Chariot had blades.
Gladiator?
Chariot had blades on the side, man.
I never saw it.
Ooh, boy.
Hey.
Got you, motherfucker. Gladiator's tight. You should watch it.
Okay.
But there's actually a scene where they talk about a real thing that happened, which was Roman soldiers would sometimes be in battle, and the chariots would have, they would apply multiple blades to the actual ends of the axles of the chariots.
Yeah.
And then when they would run through a sea of soldiers who were on foot, the like 2-foot blades that were out the side would actually be rotating and would like, it's kind of fucked up, and like mow people at the knees when they would drive through, pulled by horses and shit.
Yikes.
So that might explain that.
Well, that wasn't what happened to this dude.
Oh, all right.
Because as he walked across the room, it was like an angled floor, right? So like one side of the room was higher than the other
Oh,
side.
okay, yeah.
And as he gets to the other side,
It was the year 1000, guys. Give him a break. Levels had not been invented yet.
he gets to the other side, and now Harry can see his full person.
Okay.
So it was like he was walking.
He emerged.
Yeah, he was walking at one level, sort of regardless of whatever level the room or the house was at.
Got it. So he came like out of where the level would have maybe cut him off.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
So he watches this guy just walk across the room and then into the wall on the other side of the room and disappear.
Do we know if in this initial pass, did he like pee and poop himself? Did he say, "Hey, bud, what you doing?" Did he run, or was he just sort of like, "What the fuck," and just froze? Or
he just kind of froze when he saw this dude.
Okay.
still up on the ladder. But he starts hearing more sounds coming from in the wall or in the direction of where this Roman soldier guy just came from.
Yeah.
And then he sees a horse come out of the wall.
Cause fuck yeah, he does.
Ghost horse.
Cause ghost horse. Fuck yeah, you did.
And on top of this horse is another Roman soldier. And he has a shield on his arm, and he's like in full uniform, helmet, armor. They were wearing like leather skirts, kind of, that were like cut like a kind of a fringe along the edge.
Braid, yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta watch Gladiator, bro.
All right.
They shred this stuff, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, he starts freaking out and he hides because he doesn't know if like
how many more Roman soldiers are coming.
Yeah, and he doesn't know because they don't look ghostly. He described these as looking just like people and a horse.
Oh, okay.
So
in my head, I'm envisioning sort of like the cloudy, pale.
These were just
visage.
people. Nope. And so he hides.
Oh.
Because he doesn't know if they can see him. He doesn't know if he's in danger or he's whatever. He just saw a fucking horse walk out of the wall with a Roman soldier on it.
Yeah, I'd get the fuck out of there too.
And behind the horse come more soldiers on foot walking in pairs. And there's an interview with him, with Harry, describing this situation that I watched on YouTube. But he said...
Oh, really? Like
Like much later, he did some press about it. Like he told the story at the time and did some like newspaper interviews and like local press.
Yeah.
But he actually does an on-camera interview on some. It's called the Y Files. It's some like paranormal UK investigator show from looks like the 90s.
Oi! Fuck off!
Australian, if anything.
No, I was going Cockney.
Oh, well, you missed. It's okay.
Yeah, right.
Shit went bad real quick. You know what I mean?
It's been a while since I've flexed on my shitty accent game, guys. But it's coming out tonight.
So he doesn't know exactly how many it was, but he said it was at least 20 soldiers came through this wall.
Oh, Jesus.
Just walked across the room
So
and
that
then
had to have
through the
been-
wall on the other side of the room.
Okay. So that would have had to have been like a multiple minutes long experience, I would imagine.
He also does this interview in the room where this happened, which is kind of interesting because
Oh.
you can see the size and scale of things.
And he can like point, like, can you give me a ballpark?
I mean,
of size and scale?
it was probably like a 10 to 15 foot walk. You know, it's like a smaller basement room. It's not
Okay.
huge. So walking across it would probably only take a few seconds, but yeah, like a minute or two at least, I would think.
Okay.
So he just watches all these guys go by, and then the last one that goes by is carrying some sort of horn and playing the note that he had heard from inside the wall.
What's the name for that? The ram's horn.
A conch?
No, that's the shell.
Mm.
There's a name for like the ram's horn, like the shofar.
Is it the...
Is that right? I think that might be right.
I think it's the...
Yep.
I think it's the
that.
reggae horn.
It's the reggae horn. You're right. I think it's the shofar, but maybe.
So after these soldiers go by, he runs upstairs,
Nailed it.
and the caretaker of the house is like, "Oh, you saw the Romans."
I'm sorry, what?
So apparently, the guy who, because this was like a state-owned house,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they had a caretaker assigned to it, had seen the same or a similar thing in the past and hadn't told anyone because, you know, seems like a pretty good way to lose your job.
Because that's fucking weird.
Yeah. And also, like, maybe you're spending too much time in that house by yourself, and
Yeah.
we should reassign you or find someone else who isn't.
What are you
crazy to
chipping
do
out of
it.
that wall, bud?
Mhm. So, what was weird about this? I mean, a lot of things were weird. What caused people even to be even more suspicious of this already suspicious story was that the uniforms that Harry described didn't make sense
Oh,
in terms
interesting.
of what people knew about Roman soldiers at the time. They were carrying the wrong types of shields. Their uniforms were not what people thought Roman soldiers would have been wearing. The types of swords he described them carrying were not accurate to the time. And people assume that Harry was just making up a story about seeing ghosts in the basement. Like, he's the only dude who saw it at the time. And he described something that, like, was not historically accurate. And he was 18 at the time that this happened.
I was actually just about to, excuse me. I was just about to ask at what age he was in life when it happened. So they thought he was just some fool boy fucking bullshitting.
Kid, like, yeah. High school kid just fucking with people. Yeah. However, in the 90s and in the 2000s, there were archaeological digs of Roman forts that pulled up a lot of, at the time, new artifacts that matched what Harry had described.
Yeah.
And what he described matched specifically Roman auxiliary soldiers. So basically, in the 50s, we knew about one type of Roman soldiers, and apparently there were another type, and he described this other type before people knew about this other type.
This is so fucking tight. I'm so into this right now.
And so I've seen this part reported two different ways. One, that when Harry went upstairs, the caretaker said, "Oh, you saw the Roman soldiers?" And he's like, "Yeah, I saw them. They looked like this." He's like, "Yeah, I saw them before." Another place that I saw this reported, the caretaker saw this 4 years after Harry saw it.
Okay, so there was either pre-affirmation or post-affirmation.
Yeah, one way or the other. Allegedly, the caretaker of the house saw the same thing.
Okay.
Harry reported this, or like retold this story many times in many places, both in print and on video and in person. And until he died, never changed his story, and also never took any money for any of his appearances.
Sick.
Yeah.
What was Harry's last name?
Harry's last name is Martindale.
Martindale. So, where are we again in this?
York.
That's England, right?
Yes.
Do we know where in England?
No.
Sorry. Sorry, UK listeners. We're sorry. We're stupid.
It's in North Yorkshire.
Okay.
Geographically, we're north.
Cool. I can get behind that.
Northeast-ish, maybe.
Good enough.
Yeah.
So my additional question would be,
is the rest of York super haunted? Yes.
Cool.
Because there are lots of other stories about other places in York that have weird things happening.
Oh, that's cool.
We're like in between Leeds and Newcastle, if that means anything to you. Sort of
does.
like the north central-ish part of England.
It actually does, because I took a train out of London to Edinburgh, so
You probably went right through it, but
we literally went right through Newcastle. So that does actually make some sense to me. My question though wasn't necessarily about the rest of York being haunted. More so it was so super cool that he identified something that was like not at the time considered historically accurate, and then
knowledge he shouldn't have had.
Yeah, like those are really
couldn't have had.
Yeah, those are really to me personally, those are like really powerful and interesting, indicative like sentiments, if true.
Yeah. That's the part that always gets me. Like, that would also be a great detail to just add to the story to make it sound more convincing.
Sure.
But whatever.
But there also, I can see there being a version of it where he described it in the newspapers or in those situations. We have documentation of him saying it before it was real.
Yeah.
Which, you know,
I couldn't find that documentation, but yes, if that exists, then definitely.
My next question would be, though, is do we have any historical evidence of Roman auxiliary soldiers in that area.
Funny you should say that. That house is built over a ancient Roman road.
Really?
Yeah. And it would have been, and
y'all, that sounded like I just teed Spencer up for that. I super didn't. I've never heard this story, and we didn't talk about what we're going to talk about today.
yeah, it was built on the site of a Roman walkway.
Would there have been a way to know that? I feel like there probably would have been a way to know that, but I guess I don't know. Like, I'm just devil's advocating here. Like, could Harry have known that it was, I don't know.
Are you saying, could he have known that at the time and therefore made up this story that would have been more plausible?
Because of that fact? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm sure that information existed in the 50s.
Yeah.
If he would have had it, and who knows?
Okay.
Yeah. Is that maybe something he had just studied and then was at the top of his mind? Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know how we would ever really know that.
Or some sort of just like tribal story in the village that like, yeah, this used to be a Roman walkway or whatever.
Sure.
Like hearsay in the town. It's a fascinating fucking story, man. I love the versions of this type shit where even though he was an individual who this happened to, it's a super fucking elaborate thing to just make up.
Yeah. Assuming that all those details were the original story, yes.
Yes. If the story has grown over time.
That's the thing that I always worry about with these is like,
I saw a ghost walk through a wall, and then it became, I saw a Roman ghost walk through a wall, and then it became, I saw Roman troops walk through a wall, and then it became.
Well, and then by especially, 60 some years removed, you're hearing a retelling of a retelling of a retelling of a retelling of a story that's 65 years old.
Sure. Although, if we have video interview evidence of him maintaining his own story,
yeah,
we do have a little bit more of like a true primary source.
Right. Yeah, we do have him telling it himself sometime in what looked to be like mid to late 90s.
Right. And we've talked about this concept with a lot of the shit that we talk about on the show, where it's like people who are, what's the word we use? Not observers? Witnesses? It's observers? Is that what it is?
I don't know what you're talking about yet.
Experiencer versus what's the other version of that? We talked about it when we talked about the MUFON stuff, where it's like if you've had a physical interaction versus if you've just like seen something. It's like observer versus experiencer. Isn't that what it is?
That seems reasonable.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, if you are someone who is either an experiencer or an observer of a phenomenon like this, especially as someone who, if we have kind of general documentation that he wasn't immediately writing his Roman ghost book and touring his Roman ghost book and going on the Roman ghost speaking circuit.
Right. As far as we know, he didn't do any of those things or ever make any money off of the story.
Yeah. While continuing to hold to its veracity later in life. To me, that lends so much, along with a couple of the other details, again, presuming that they're true, but we do have the first person version of it. But like, to me, it lends a ton of veracity to the story that someone would come out and be like, that was super fucking weird. And I don't know what the fuck just happened to me, but like, I should probably tell you guys that just fucking happened to me because it's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Because you have so much more to lose as an 18-year-old who's like getting your start in a trade.
Right. You're at one of your first jobs.
Yeah.
Or maybe literally first job.
There's fucking ghost soldiers down here. Oh, cool. We don't work with you anymore and you can fuck off, you little weird ass. Yeah. Take your fucking ghost soldier bullshit elsewhere.
We out of here.
We'll work with someone who's willing to shut the fuck up, drill their holes, and have a beer with us afterwards and not be a fucking weirdo about it.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, it lends so much veracity to the story for people who don't invent it for monetary gain, as far as we can tell.
However, he did not come back to that job after that day.
That lends more veracity.
Well, yeah. I don't know if it was because he was terrified or he got fired or both.
Well, I guess
But-
there's that.
The positive way of looking at it is that he was so scared he didn't go back. Negative way is he started telling his boss about ghosts in the basement and they canned his ass, but we don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say like hard to.
The way Harry tells it, he didn't go back because ghosts.
Because fuck that noise.
Yeah.
Fuck this shit. I'm out.
Right.
What's your like believability scale? What's your take?
I think one of the more plausible explanations for ghost stuff is that you're seeing like a replay of something. Or that you're seeing a moment in time that has somehow been captured, or you're observing something. There never seems to be like in the, I don't know. That seems more likely to me than like there's some sort of sentient spirit contained to an area knocking your coffee off the counter.
We about to go there.
So in that sense, especially with the like independent verification of the description of the soldiers, that this was an area where those soldiers specifically would have been.
Right.
I don't know if I'm not going to say I like believe it, because there's just no solid evidence other than one guy's story, and I wasn't there. I didn't see it. But as far as ghost stories go, this is one of the more believable ones to me.
Yeah, and I think too, this also goes a little bit back to some of the conversations we've had on the show before as well. But it's like, when we say, "Do you believe it?" What do we mean? You know?
Yeah, we believe that I guess.
Do we believe he saw that? Well, what does that mean?
Right. Do we believe that he had the experience he says he had?
Right.
I guess is how I'm thinking about it.
And then the additional part of that is like, if a third party was there and didn't see it, does that mean he saw it? You know, like.
Yeah, because I don't think Harry in this case is even claiming to know what it was.
Right.
He's just saying,
like,
this is what I saw.
Yeah.
And so I guess, do I believe that he saw what he says he saw? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Couldn't tell you what that is.
Right.
You got some sentient, invisible things knocking stuff off of counter stories?
Sure do.
Great. It's your turn.
About to go there, bud. Very, very quick aside. Least trash Halloween candy. Are they trash? Most trash Halloween candy. Go.
Well, most trash is Almond Joy.
Shots fired.
Or Mounds.
Mounds is the correct answer, but
yeah, they're both garbage.
Yes. Somebody was eating a Mounds at my job the other day, and everybody was like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "This is delicious." And everyone, like, not everyone, but
You're a piece of shit.
a handful of people were like, "It's not tight. It's not tight." So it seems very polarizing. There seems to be a very strong group of defenders.
We've established that we both hate all things coconut in the past, though.
Yeah, like I've said, I'll eat coconut shrimp, but that's about it. I believe we referred to coconut LaCroix as sparkling barf water.
Yes, which it is.
Which it is.
That's just true.
That's just real.
I tend to go like sour, chewy things.
Not a lot of people gave away sour, chewy things.
I know.
In Halloween, though. It was a lot of like candy bars or like chocolates or M&Ms and stuff.
I just found out that the Asian grocery store in our neighborhood sells literally every variety of high chew, including the sour ones.
Whoa.
And it's lit.
Like the whole tube? You can get the tubes?
Yeah, or you can get the big like variety bags. Oh. Yeah, so I bought the sour variety bag guy the other day.
Ugh.
But I'll go like...
Damn, let's stop the show and just eat high chews.
I'll go like Skittles, or especially sour Skittles are my jam.
Okay.
Or like Sour Patch Kids.
Sour Patch Kids are the shit.
Yeah. Or,
but these aren't really Halloween candies, though. I
they
mean,
they make the little bags of both of those.
Really?
Little bags of Skittles are a classic Halloween candy.
Yes, but no, I've never seen a little bag of sour Skittles, because I feel like sour Skittles came out when we were older.
You've never worked with elementary schoolers. This shit is everywhere.
You know what? When you put it like that.
Yeah.
Little Skittles, you're right, was definitely a thing. Never little Sour Patch Kids though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Not
Little
when we were
ones?
kids, but they exist now.
That's tight.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, awesome. Sour Patch Kids real bad right now.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also I'll do mine really quickly. Mounds is the wrong answer, or is the right answer for
Worst.
the most trash thing. I'm gonna put the least trash, personal favorite, a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, man.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
You can't go wrong. They're so good. And they hit the spot every time.
Peanut butter M&Ms also great.
Also great. I still would take a straight up peanut butter cup over peanut butter M&Ms.
Are they trash?
Hi at whatifpodcast.com, 612-246-4614.
I don't give a shit about what candy you like. Don't email me.
Tell us about your Halloween candy favorites.
Tell me about your poltergeists.
Bro,
I'm getting dithered on this one.
fucking sure enough. Poltergeist. German word for loud ghost.
Face your fears, son.
Yup, we're about to. Because loud ghosts are fucking scary. You know what else is fucking scary? Weird kids. And this story has loud ghosts
You got some black-eyed children?
and weird kids. No, not black-eyed children.
Listen, you wee bastard.
That's pretty good. When we're talking about kids, that'll work.
Thanks.
No, just kids being creepy. I just sent you some audio, by the way, that we should pull up at some point later in the story.
Oh, okay. I was ignoring my phone during the episode, but
No, that's
I need to pay attention apparently.
no. It's okay. I told you now. You can ignore it.
Okay, I got it.
So we're gonna go to we'll stay in, I should say, in England, and we're also actually gonna go not North England, but North London,
Okay.
and we're gonna go to the year 1977. And we're going to go to a northern borough of London called Enfield.
Guess what happened?
Guess what happened? We're going to talk about the Enfield Poltergeist, which, for those of you who are well versed in the horror movie genre, was actually, that's not me either, was actually partially the inspiration for a movie called The Conjuring, which I've never seen, but I am familiar with.
I haven't seen it either, but it's a classic. I don't know shit about horror movies, and I know that one.
Yeah, word. I felt the same way. I was like, oh yeah, I've heard of that movie. So we go to a house in Enfield in 1977. It's what's known as a council house, which is... What's up,
Did
bud?
not prepare me for what I was going to see if I clicked on that link you sent me.
Oh yeah, shit's
Goddamn.
shit's about to get a little wild.
Ugh.
It's Halloween,
Sorry.
my guy.
Yeah, well.
Coming in hot.
I was telling cute ghost stories. You're getting into some weird shit.
This one's definitely way less cute.
Okay, great.
Unfortunately, but also I'm spooked as heck. Let's get it. A council house is sort of I don't know what the universal term for it is. In the United States, we have what's known as Section 8. I don't know what it would be called in other places, but essentially
Government-funded housing?
government-funded housing. Yeah. So council houses were basically row houses that were subsidized or funded fully for people who are on some form of government assistance. So the Hodgson family lived in a 3-bedroom council house in North London. And one night in August of 1977, the single mother, head of house, Peggy Hodgson, calls the police and says, hey, there's some weird stuff going on. There's furniture moving in my house. Can you guys come check it out? Uh-oh. And it was like sort of late at night, but not super late at night. And the story goes that the constable, man, y'all so cute. The constable or police officer who responded to the call said something to the effect of like, yeah, call us back when the pubs close. Basically being like, haha, fuck off.
Yeah.
And apparently Peggy responded by waiting for an hour until the pubs closed and calling the police station back and saying, there's still things moving in my house, and I would appreciate it if y'all came and checked it out.
Okay.
So police go to the Hodgson House in North London, and explore the space. You know how like journalists kind of get activated almost at the same time as police officers, depending on the case?
No, but
you know, like if there's an ambulance or a murder call or people are listening to the radio or whatever in contemporary times, like press follows where police action is.
Okay.
Some version of that apparently happened at the same time. And Mirror, which is a website now, and I don't know if it's still a paper, but mirror.co.uk apparently was a publication at the time. So they mobilized a couple people to go check this out on the same night. What they found when they got to the house was moving furniture.
Heck.
Things actually moving.
Heck.
Marbles flying through the air at random intervals and times.
Heck.
Children's toys that were actually hitting intruders in the house in the face.
Heck.
All while observers of this were in sight of the 4 children and the mother in the home.
Ugh.
From 1977 to 1979, over roughly a period of 18 months, over 30 different individuals, including the family, police officers, reporters for the BBC and Mirror, paranormal investigators, psychic evaluators, all kinds of people from all kinds of life, 30 different individuals testified to having some replicable version of this experience in the Hodgson Council House.
I'm disturbed. I don't know why I decided to do this.
Yeah. There were reports of levitation, which included...
Of people or things?
Both.
Oh.
Objects included pillows just being flung across the room.
If you're going to fling something, that's polite at least.
Well, cabinets that were hung on the walls that were literally lifted off the wall and then dropped. Speaking of y'all being cute over there in the UK, apparently there was like a lollipop woman in the neighborhood, which I guess is like some version of a cart pushing ice cream vendor, but like sold lollipops instead.
Makes sense.
Was walking by the house one summer evening and saw the 2 daughters in the family of 4 were the ones who were most affected by the
why is that?
Poltergeist.
That seems like a theme in these stories, that it often centers around youngish to like early adolescent-ish kids.
Yep.
And more often girls than boys.
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
What's that all about?
I don't know.
Okay.
I
guess I didn't really expect an answer, but
sure.
That has always seemed strange to me.
I do have a hypothesis, which would essentially be like whatever the disembodied spirit is finds maybe like the easiest vehicle, or
but why would that be it?
The youngest child, like in a family,
but
or?
It's not even youngest sometimes though. It's
that's
like
fair.
10 to 15-ish, it seems like.
Yeah, so these girls, one was 11 and one was 14.
Boom.
And the lollipop pusher in the neighborhood saw, I believe it was Janet, vertically floating in the upstairs bedroom of the house across the window in a way that like wouldn't be replicable. So to clarify, like council house, Section 8, government funded, single mother, 4 kids. The family was extremely poor. Didn't have like a ton of food, didn't have a ton of means. So there were some people that were like, oh, well, this is all like they're using wires or they're trying to trick people. It was like they didn't really have the means to be buying and like spending time just like fucking with people.
Well,
you could argue.
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a great argument for this. I think there are probably better arguments for this weird shit happening.
There are.
Because I could see that being the inverse too, of like, these kids don't have a lot to do for fun, and so they're bored, and there are 4 of them, and like, what do you do with 4 bored kids? You come up with weird schemes to entertain yourself.
Games. Yeah. Well,
and what do you do if you don't have access to money that you need? Well, maybe like this PR stunt can get you somewhere. Like, I don't know. I could see that argument going either way.
Totally fair. And I'll say 2 things.
So wire is not expensive.
No, that's fair. I'll say 2 things in contrast to that. One, similar to the story from earlier tonight, the Hodgson family, as far as we know, never made a dime off of their claims. They were definitely featured in papers for the course of like 18 months, but were never paid for those appearances and never sold their stories or traveled around it. Janet, one of the 2 daughters, I can't remember which one. Let's see, Janet and so Janet was 11 and Margaret was 14. So Janet was the younger of the 2.
That's how numbers work.
Janet maintains her story to this day. She's still alive. So
that's a better outcome than I thought might happen there.
What in terms
that
of
she's still alive?
Oh, well, she was 11 in 77. Oh, you're saying because the poltergeist would have killed her. Got it.
Invisible things were making her levitate around her house.
Yeah, got
and
it.
Throwing things at her face.
Totally. So Janet was most affected, maintains her story to this day. And
wait, so what? Did I miss something? What, this stuff just stopped eventually, or what?
Well, I'll get a little bit further into the exact instances. I'm just trying to say, the levitation and floating physically happened to her, and she maintains that it was real.
Oh, I see.
Later in life, that she was not. She didn't change her story on what had happened to her in that house.
Got it.
I'm going to read a couple quotes. Speaking of lending veracity, so there were reporters who this became kind of a media circus because it was such a strange thing that there was actual furniture moving and things flying around the home. The BBC reporter Ross Morris was sent to the house, and I'll read you just a quick quote from him that he had been interviewed after visiting the story. He said, quote, "I thought it was an ordinary job until I walked into the house. I stood in the gloom in the kitchen, and one by one, they brought the children into the adults' arms, and the last one to come in was Janet. And suddenly, things just took off and started flying around the room. I got hit by a Lego brick over my right eye. It gave me a lump for a few days, so there was a fair bit of force.
Dicks.
There were marbles and things left in the kitchen that were just flying around the room, and I was watching all of the family, and none of them was doing anything."
I mean, not that... what would they be doing that would make that happen anyway?
Throwing things or,
levitating people.
Right. Although for what it's worth, like he saw more of the object stuff than he saw the people stuff. He also says, so over time, Ross Morris spent evenings in the house while investigating the case. Another quote, he said, "What convinced me was a thump when a chair was moved across the room, and I am convinced there was no time for a little girl to get out of bed, stand up, and chuck a chair across the room. It was disturbing. It's an odd thing to be involved with, and one of those things you have to think about what's really happening. I don't know what it was, but there was something very strange going on." So to go back to lending veracity, this is a BBC reporter who was assigned to a story, and this was his personal outcome after the investigation.
Yikes.
Peggy, in multiple interviews, expressed, furniture moving around the house, levitation of things, moving of things. Peggy said, quote, "I just couldn't believe it." Oh, sorry. This was after a specific instance where someone had witnessed a dresser actually being moved from one side of a bedroom to the other. And there's actually audio of her saying this. It's earnest and interesting. She said, I just couldn't believe it. In fact, I pushed the dresser back twice, and the third time I couldn't move it. And there's this really interesting, part of there being 30 eyewitnesses to this that confirmed some of these claims of the Enfield Poltergeist. One of the interesting things is there are a couple of trends in the eyewitness reports that are separate from each other at separate investigatory times. And another one was from another one of the Mirror reporters who came to the house. So those two people were Doug Bentz and Graham Morris, not related to the Ross Morris from earlier. No relation. He says, this is Graham Morris, says, there was a chair which fell backwards in broad daylight, and another time when a curtain wrapped itself around Janet's neck.
God damn.
One incident I recall very clearly involved a marble apparently appearing from nowhere and then dropping dead at my feet with no bounce. And marbles just don't do that. So that concept of like things moving and then stopping and like not being moved as if more controlled is an interesting element where like you couldn't fake that by just throwing something or whatever.
Have I ever told you about that at the studio?
No. What? We've 105 episodes, my dude, and you're about to drop a one time a poltergeist fucked with me at the studio?
Well, no, I mean not that directly, but I've been at the studio by myself late at night many times.
Yeah.
And it's always, especially early on, it was weird. And there would just be strange sounds and like the feeling where you see something out of the corner of your eye would happen to me all the time there.
Totally.
And I chalked it up to like, it's just sort of a weird layout,
Lights
and there's
and
lots
angles
of
and glass
there's lots of angled glass
yeah.
and windows and stuff. But in the C studio where Ryan and I used to spend a ton of time,
yep,
I would often hear the sound of like if you were to drop a marble on the floor and hear it like bounce a few times,
yeah,
and then eventually settle,
like
yeah,
scatter kind of.
Yep, that I would hear that pretty regularly from I don't know where. And it always struck me as really odd because that place is designed
to not hear shit.
Yeah. And especially not to hear anything from outside of
the room itself.
Yeah. And it would only happen when I was the only person in there.
And you'd be like, where the fuck is that coming from?
Yes. And sometimes it would
Ooh, I just got the hickeys.
Sometimes it would be like a normal like 3 or 4 bounces, they'd get closer together and then it would sort of stop.
Uh-huh.
Other times it would happen like 8, 9, 10, 12 times
in a row.
Like bouncing at like the same interval as if it were somehow returning to the same height each time.
Whoa. So not like the scattered
They
dribble.
didn't get closer together and then stop. It would like, sometimes it would do that. It would be 3, 4 bounces that would all get closer together and then it would stop.
Almost like it was getting like dribbled and then let go of kind of.
Yeah.
Fucking what the fuck?
I don't know. And then one day it just stopped and I haven't heard it in years.
Goo!
I always thought the marble thing was weird though. That comes up a lot in these stories.
Yeah. So, we're about to get a little weirder.
What is this audio you sent me? Am I supposed to do something with that?
Yeah. So what had happened was, the furniture tipping and falling and dragging and curtains strangling and marbles flinging and toys flying, got worse and weirder. And got to the point where in the house, the family and others, including reporters and investigators, started hearing a voice.
No.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yep. Unfortunately, yes, thank you. We're going to do it.
Is that what I have audio of?
So,
fuck.
true investigators, again, like BBC and Mirror journalists, brought audio recording devices into the house. And I want to say two things really quickly before we play this audio. There is acknowledgement from both the investigators as well as the girls that as part of this being a bit of a media circus, they kind of egged things on.
The girls did?
The girls did. And so so a couple reporters said that there were moments where they could tell that the kids were trying to like add to the story, but that they were able to go, there were very, very clear moments where the kids were trying to be like, oh, that chair just fell over. And they were like playing to like try to make it a thing.
Okay.
But then there were other moments where it was like, that fucking kid is over here and that fucking chair over there just fell over. And that's like weird, which actually to me in some ways like lends some veracity to it because these kids are young. Maybe they're trying to play along, be part of the media circus, gain some attention in the moment. So they're like maybe trying to fake things to help. But at the same time, there's a bunch of people who saw versions of it where they're like, I know what it looks like when a kid's playing or fucking around or trying to fake something. And that was that. And this is completely different from that.
Yeah. Being able to compare the two in the moment, actually.
Yeah. As an adult. So one of the things that happened was the kids and the family started hearing a disembodied voice in the space. And sometimes that disembodied voice would actually come out of Janet's mouth. And unfortunately, we're going to listen to the audio recordings of what that sounded like, which was a voice that both some of the reporters say it had no starting point. It came from the room. And then other times it came from what felt like the back of Janet's throat where she would glaze over and these sounds would come from her mouth.
Uh-oh. Am I playing this whole thing?
We'll listen to
starting at the beginning at least?
We're just going to listen to the first however much you can take.
Come on, let me hear you say my name. That's not my name. Come on, my name's Morris. Let me hear you say it. Morris. Say Dr. Belloc. Come on, let me hear you say that. Come on. Let's hear you say Dr. Belloc. Could you close that door down? Say Dr. Belloc. What is it? Just hold that one on good work. Come, if you squeak the bed, I can't hear you talking. Now, say Dr. Belloc. Come on. Come on, say it for me, Dr. Belloc. Dr. Belloc.
What? Was that barking sound at the beginning it too, or was that their dog?
No, that was...
The room was barking at them.
Yeah.
Heck.
We should keep going a little bit further.
Okay.
Right, that's good. I'm 72 years old. I come from Jewel graveyard. And I have right near the church where Rita lives. And all my friends come from there as well. And we all make a game and go to the pub. And then we
there are reports of, not reports, there are recordings of this happening for hours. Consecutive.
Coming from nowhere?
So again, I have a hard time understanding the duality of it coming from Janet's mouth or like personhood and then also coming from the space. But the way that it's described is that it's almost transient, that sometimes it was just present in the room, and then sometimes it would like source to the destination of her mouth or the inception of her mouth and like come out of her. But sometimes she would not be in the room and the voice would still be in the room.
A video recording would have been so much more useful.
Fair.
Because like, yes, that is creepy. It also sounds like somebody doing a fucking Yoda voice.
Yes, but so I kind of agree with you, but also a bunch of the people, again, like who were tasked with investigating this heard some version of this. And there's actually a really great, I'll make sure we put this in the show notes for today. There's a great BBC, I think it's a podcast, actually. I'm not entirely sure what it...
You okay, bud?
I'm just trying to think of like, I don't know how to get to it.
You just have a stroke? It's
just BBC/sounds, and I was pulling up the link at the same time. It's called The Reunion, the Enfield Poltergeist.
Okay.
And it's a reporter who gathered a bunch of people who were involved in the case, including some of the reporters, and got their take on it. It came out, I don't have a date on it here. It came out in the last like couple years. So they like retroactively went back and asked these people about their experience. And one of the things that they said was that multiple different people had heard some version of this voice. And a lot of people said, well, it's a symptom of kids with Tourette's, that they can actually have a bark in their voice box or their vocal cords.
Yeah, I mean, none of those were sounds that a kid couldn't make.
Right, but one of the competitions to that was, this is an 11-year-old girl, and there are audio tapes of that fucking babble going for like hours, like 2 to 3 hours at a time of just like nonstop, nonsensical babbling talk from this disembodied voice. And like you would an 11-year-old girl is going to like stop or give up or clear her throat, or like she's not just going to sit there and put on this fake fucked up voice for hours at a time.
That's what I'm having a hard time understanding though. Was she always there when this was happening?
So again, like I don't entirely understand the dynamic of when it was and wasn't happening. You hear in that last clip, the investigator says something. He's continuing to try to get it to communicate with him.
Yeah.
So he's continuing to say my name, say Dr. this, whatever. Say my name. When you are a ghost. And you can hear him say something like, I can hear you creaking the bed. I don't want to hear the bed creak. I want you to say Dr. such and such.
Yeah. But I guess that's what I don't understand. Is he speaking to an empty room, or is he speaking to an 11-year-old child?
I think he's speaking to an empty room.
Well, that's very different.
Yes, but again, I think
there were way crazier.
There were other times where that voice did emanate from the little girl, but sometimes she was not present.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that's fucked up then. Or much more. It's fucked up either way. It's way more fucked up if an empty room is speaking to you for hours at a time.
Yes.
And you can record it and put it on YouTube.
But so was Janet, an 11-year-old girl, producing this fucked up deep voice growl. So
I've heard kids make all kinds of fucked up noises.
Sure. There is audio in the recurring recordings of this fucked up voice of Janet at one point saying through her mouth, but in that voice, just before I died, I went blind, and then I had a hemorrhage and I fell asleep. I died in that chair, the one in the corner downstairs.
Okay.
So in the media circus about this whole thing, that audio made its way onto the radio, and the radio played that audio of Janet saying that phrase, and a man called the radio station and said, that was my dad. My dad died of a hemorrhage in that house when, like, whatever, fucking 30, 40 years ago when I was young. He had a hemorrhage in a rocking chair in that house. And so...
Wait, how would he have known from the radio broadcast what house it was.
I think he dug into it after hearing like died of a hemorrhage in a rocking chair or whatever. Like, this is weird, and like dug into it and figured out that they lived on 224 Green Street or something like that, and put it or 284 Green Street, and potentially put it together. Again, this gets into the which of these details came later, which are totally like viable. Janet later in life had said, this is an interesting quote from her, quote, "The levitation stuff was scary because you didn't know where you were going to land. I remember once a curtain being wound around my neck. I was screaming. I thought I was going to die. I was bullied at school. They called me Ghost Girl. I would dread going home. The front door would be open. There'd be these people going in and out, and you never knew what to expect. I'm not one for living in the past. I want to move on, but it does come to me now and again. I dream about it, and it affects me, and I think, why did this happen to us?"
So what was the resolution to all of it? Did they move? Did it just stop?
No, so one of the sort of, again, people who were assaulting the story said, well, sometimes council houses in the 70s, similar to Section 8 in the U.S., is not always the nicest living conditions. And depending on the specific condition of your Section 8 or your council house, maybe you make up some wild, crazy story because you want to get the fuck out of there. You know, maybe that's not financial gain, but maybe you get moved to a nicer thing if you make a big enough stink about it. Well, they never moved. They actually stayed there because it was convenient for them with like schools and jobs to actually stay in that place. So they never actually...
Yeah, it sounds convenient being strangled and levitated.
Right. There was no like exorcism or any specific event. There was just sort of a waning occurrence of it until one day, again, like I said, 18 and 19 months later, the reports stopped. And that really is more like the reports being the reports in the news stopped. So we don't really know from I couldn't find any specific documentation or evidence from interviews with the family about like, did it go on for 5 years but slow down, or 7 years and they got used to it, or
people got bored with the story after a while.
Right. Like, we don't really know. But that's what they say is within roughly about 2 years was the amount of time that these things happened.
That's way too long.
Yeah, I'd have been the fuck out that night.
We out of here!
Happy Halloween, kids. Hope you sleep good. Hope you didn't listen to this before bed, bud.
Say, you all didn't happen to do a bunch of drugs, did you?
Well, you know, maybe that would help sedate this episode
but we're about to.
A little bit. Yeah. We love you guys. Thank y'all so much for support. Seriously, thank you to everybody who joined the Patreon. We're over 200 supporters. That's fucking amazing and crazy. If you want double the What If podcast every week, go to patreon.com/whatifpodcast. And for just $5 a month, you get 2 episodes every week instead of 1. Hi@whatifpodcast.com if you want to holler at us with an email. 612-246-4614 if you want to come chat us up on the voicemail. As always, we love you. Happy Halloween. We'll see you next week.
Listen, you wee bastards. Life's too short to be messing around. You need to live your life. Enjoy your time here on planet Earth.